Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. It is a pro wrestling podcast where we talk about pro wrestling right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite mobile podcast listening application. Or even it could be on your desktop. It doesn't matter. Wherever you listen to your podcast, I'm there as well. Hello and welcome. This is a podcast that I recorded on August 1st, 2023, breaking down a lot of stuff. We record these things live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you ever have the inclination and you'd like to jump in at some point, you come and join us live. It's a good time. We also do community stuff behind the scenes that doesn't make it to the recording, to the final edit, I should say. It makes it to the recording, but not the final edit. Come and join us. It's a good time. We'd love to have you. But if not, listen, I appreciate it. And thank you for being here. Leave a like here on YouTube if you're watching this. Ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts help out a great deal. Any little thing you can do like that to help out would be a tremendous help. And I would appreciate it a great deal. It does help the podcast grow. I'm not going to lie. I've always got a bunch of things going on these days. I have my G1 Climax 33 coverage that I'm doing on a daily basis. Every time there's a G1 show, I'm here, I'm reviewing, I'm recapping, I'm giving you all the nitty gritty, I'm giving you some analysis, I'm giving you all you need. It's another reason to subscribe to my stuff, especially if you don't have time or if you just want recommendations or you just want to keep up from afar. I'm your Huckleberry. I'm your guy. I'm here to help. So subscribe again to the channel. Look, there's a playlist set up on YouTube that you can listen to them all very easily. The episodes are easy to find on your podcast app. It's all there. Everything is there. Go right ahead, and I would love, to hear what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Let's talk about the G1. G1 season is exciting, and we're in the final stretch. We're heading into the final stretch right now, so even more exciting. Do take the time to check those out, or check out my AEW Dynamite and Collision reviews, which I do respectively on Thursdays and Sundays. Right here again at the exact same spot you're listening to. Some extra content, some AEW stuff. Always interesting things to talk about. So make sure you check those out as well. And make sure you join the MrWarrenHayes Show Discord, where fans, community members of the MrWarrenHayes Show continue talking about pro wrestling and watching wrestling together over there. So the link is in the description. I would love to have you there. Love to have you join the MrWarrenHayes Show channel on YouTube as well. If you want to show a little more support, become a member, and then you get access to the members only streams that happen on Fridays, where we talk again more pro wrestling amongst the members. It's a good time, but this show is also a good time tonight that we've got in the wings for you. I'm going to review NXT Great American Bash 2023, and as well as preview SummerSlam 2023, which is happening this weekend. We've got some, I've got some thoughts about AEW, about the All In show, but the fact that there's no matches, and where do we buy it? What's happening on pay-per-view? Like, there's a lot of discourse around that, so I touch on that a little bit. And we got a few things. We got multiple things sprinkled throughout. Thank you for being here. Let's just get right to it with the weekly wrestling inspection. This week we learned that British professional wrestling legend Adrian Street passed away. He died just a few days ago. On the recording of this, at the age of 82. He was born in Wales in 1940, began his wrestling career in the early 1960s, and became very well known for his flamboyant ring persona. He wore makeup, high heels, sequined robes, and he'd often incorporate drag queen inspired mannerisms into his matches as well. You can imagine when he started, we're talking early 60s, you can imagine how controversial his persona was at the time, and especially, I'm not going to try and make a great divide, but, in Britain at the time, still a very conservative environment nonetheless. Despite it all, he was well-traveled in the UK and the US as well. He had a very successful career in the United States. after he left the UK. He went to Mexico even for a while. Worked Stampede up in Calgary, but he started wrestling in the US in the early 80s and worked the Southern NWA territories, particularly Continental Championship Wrestling. And he wrestled. You know, he wrestled and had programs with the people of the day. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He wasn't just wrestling nobodies. You know, Bill Dundee, Barry Windham, Dusty Rhodes, Tommy Rogers, Rip Rogers, Tom Pritchard, Randy Savage. And, you know, he'd even have a tag team with Jimmy Valiant where he'd fight the Assassins. Like, you know, he'd do it all. And he'd use this flamboyant, you know, LGBTQ plus persona that he had developed for himself. He had developed that and used it against a lot of the sensibilities at the time to the advantage of his character and his own performances. Like one of his signature moves in the ring was to kiss opponents to escape getting pinned, because, you know, guys were all so butch back then. He also sang several glam rock songs in the ring, such as "Imagine What I Could Do to You." So that was also his theme song, by the way. I believe he used that one quite a bit, and he even had a band as well. In Britain, he was very well established and considered a legend in the wrestling business at the time, and always. You know, I was reading a bit of what Dave Meltzer had to say. He's obviously going to have a tremendous obituary in the Observer this week. But, you know, everyone, this, of course, is according to Dave, but I wouldn't see why Dave would lie about this. Apparently, this guy was extremely well liked. Very, very, very well appreciated and just beloved by everyone who came in contact with him. He was legitimately a nice guy. And this actually came to proof, or at least to pass, at some point in 1971. He was booked to wrestle a wrestling match against Jimmy Savile, right? That notorious British television personality who was arrested and convicted for multiple sexual assault crimes, particularly against minors, just a few years ago. Had a career doing those, and he found out, he being Adrian Street, he had heard actually Savile bragging about his exploits with minors, and when the time came, when the time came for the match, Savile he recounted the story on a YouTube channel where he said he was where he recounted the performance as follows. He said, quote, "I ripped his hair out of his head. I drop kicked him so hard he landed on his head. I beat the crap out of him. I kicked him and smashed him and stomped on him. I put a submission on him that nearly broke his back. They shoveled him out of the ring, and that ended the contest, and he never wrestled again." So there you go. But he obviously paved the way for the inclusion of LGBTQ plus performers in pro wrestling. He was very open about. He was very flamboyant in his personality, and was a bit of a trailblazer in many ways. He ended up staying quite a long time in the United States, even opened up a wrestling school in Florida, which I believe was destroyed in Hurricane because of Hurricane Ivan. What was that, in 2004, 2003, 2004, something to that effect. And he relocated he went back to the UK and spent the rest of his ultimately the rest of his life there at this point. I don't think you'll find many 5-star matches in his catalog, but his significance, his significance in pro wrestling is different and much more. His significance for pro wrestling is there, but in a very different way. You can seek out, especially his promos. Especially there's this one fantastic promo that he cuts on an upcoming match that he has with Randy Savage, where he's let's just say he ends up making the announcer very uncomfortable, the interviewer very, very uncomfortable. It's great stuff. You should look it up whenever you can. There's already a great, more detailed obituary on Adrian Street that is available on postwrestling.com right now. Like I said, Dave Meltzer will probably have a very extensive one in the Observer this week. But a very, very significant pro wrestler, well-known, colorful, Adrian Street, passed away at the age of 82. And now we are going to move on to my review of the Great American Bash 2023 that took place this past Sunday, July 30, 2023, at the HEB Center in Cedar Park, Texas. We had, for this show, folks, a setup. The arena, the HEB arena was set up for 3,905 people, according to WrestleTix, of course. Distributed 3,775. We're a long way from the takeovers of old, aren't we? Where, you'd be filling out basketball arenas at this point. We're a far, far cry from that. We're a far, far cry from that. Not only when it comes to attendance, but in whatever the hell they're doing in NXT. Because I frankly, this is the kind of WWE show that I watch, and I frankly, sincerely look at and do not understand what WWE fans want. And I know this is something that I brought up multiple times. It's sort of turning into a theme because I do not understand how anyone watches this and goes, that's pretty good. I might be spoiling my intent in this review here, but I thought this was a mediocre show with some really bad points in it. And a thing or two here or there, couple of good efforts, but I really don't know who watches NXT and says, this is great pro wrestling. The more I watch this stuff, and again, I can't watch the weekly show anymore. I just can't. It's not that. It's not what I want. But when I watch the PLEs, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, this is a show about pro wrestling. It's not pro wrestling, but it is a show about it. It is not unlike Heels with Stephen Amell, where he's not a pro wrestler and he is doing pro wrestling moves, but he is not a pro wrestler. And I feel this is what we get with this show. Whether or not these are trainees is against the point. Whether these people or not are ready to be on TV, again, is somewhat to the point, but to the overall point that I'm making here, I'm not watching pro wrestling. There's one match in this show that I would argue with you. Two matches that I would argue are good old-fashioned pro wrestling matches. The others, I don't know what they are. It's you hear it. You hear it. You say, you have people saying, from a certain section of the fandom, talking about cosplay wrestlers, right? Well, this is a cosplay wrestling show. These are all good-looking, handsome, pretty people, athletic, who do athletic things that resemble pro wrestling, but it's not that. And right now, I am neck deep in the G1, in Japanese pro wrestling. Some of the best stuff in the world, high quality, world class athletes, pro wrestlers, doing what they do best on a daily basis. I'm watching this. You can't expect me to tune in to NXT and see what's going on there and going, this is great stuff. I'm sorry. And I know there's stories. There's the story. Then I bet there's things that happen on this show that are extremely compelling for people who are invested in these God-forsaken, interminable stories that I keep hearing about. But it's also these same type of stories that turn me off of the product. Look, instead of being vague about it, we're gonna jump right in. But listen, every time I sit down and I go like this and I get my notebook, I get my pen, I'm like, all right, I am ready. Let's go. Let's get some NXT in here. I'm ready. I'm psyched. And every single time I forget that Booker T is on commentary, and the minute he opens his mouth, I melt in my seat. I'm like, I forgot. He's still here. He's still doing this. And boys, girls, and everyone in between, he's not improving. He's not getting better. He's not changing his style. He doesn't give a shit. He's paid to sit there and say, that's how you gotta do it. Yeah. You just gotta get on top of stuff, and you can't be in the business to make friends. You make friends or you make money. Yeah, shucky ducky quack quack. That's what he does. The entire 3 hours of this fucking show. Commentary on NXT PLEs is bad. And I'm not dumping all of this exclusively on Booker. Our boy Vic. Hey, he's got some juicy bits in there too. Hey Lucas, bonsoir. Mais oui, je vais très bien, merci. Toi aussi, j'espère que tu vas très très bien. Merci d'être passé. Thank you for coming. I'm a man of the world. I can complain about NXT in multiple languages if you want. NXT, c'est de la merde. C'est pourri. C'est pour qui, NXT? Ça s'adresse à qui? Qui aime ça? C'est qui est-ce qui écoute ça et qui dit ouais, c'est vraiment bon, ouais! Where am I? What are we doing? The family, look, Tony D'Angelo and Stax Lorenzo are the new NXT Tag Team Champions. They defeated the Gallus Boys. So this is the final match. This is what my research has got me. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But from what I've gathered, this is the final match. This is the final match in a feud that's been going on for months, for like 3 months. Okay, because the Gallus Boys planted evidence. This is what I think I understand what's going on, but there's a fair chance that I don't either. So again, from what I'm gathering here, the Gallus Boys planted evidence to get Tony D'Angelo arrested and thrown in the clink, right? That's what they say, right? That's what they say, the mob people, right? In the clink. In the what's another? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to push the bit. And just like anything in WWE, it doesn't matter if you have a record, if you have a criminal record, we'll hire you back. That's not a problem. And not only did they hire him back, they had a match. When I say they, it was like Stacks versus, Gallus number 2. Who cares? I don't know. I don't know who. And ultimately it doesn't matter. They had a match where if Stacks won, the charges were dropped on Tony. And I'm like, how does a breathing, functioning adult say to themselves, yeah, this is great stuff. I get it's parody, it's absurd. Don't worry, I get it. I understand it, but it's not even interesting, and it's stupid. And look, I'm going to leave it at that. But this match here, look, I'm going to tell you, this was the most bog standard tag team match you could ask to see. Like if you asked an AI, to design you what a tag team wrestling match could look like, this is probably what you'd get, right? Nothing offensive about it, nothing terrible, nothing where the skill, the action was bad. Don't get me wrong, but there was nothing special about it either. And this is a PLE. This was a television match. This was the definition of your bog standard WWE television match, and they're doing this on a pay-per-view as a blow-off to a feud to crown new champions on top of that. Look, there was a crowbar. I remember a crowbar being used in this match by Tony D'Angelo to take out Joe Coffey, because Joe Coffey was always sticking his nose in here. And they won. And they won shortly thereafter. Good TV match, but again, not a pay-per-view match, a PLE match. Fine work, but nothing stood out. It's something that no one will ever remember, ever. And I'm glad I didn't spend 3 months of, evidence hiding and probably Stacks going backstage like, I wonder. And then looking through, tape, interviewing people, whatever the fuck happened over 3 months. I'm so glad I didn't sit through that. And who cares? But hey, this is the thing. There's one thing that I do understand about WWE fans, that who cares about the match? The story came full circle, right? A fantastic story of redemption for Tony D, who got, who was profiled because of who he is and his heritage, right? He was profiled, and then it's a full circle moment where he just gets, the heels get their comeuppance, and now he's a good, honest citizen with legitimate businesses, right? So this is what WWE fans want. They want their stories to come together. It all makes sense. So I'm sure most WWE fans were like, fantastic. Tony D got out of the slammer, and this is shit I don't have time for. Like, I do not care. Then we had the Weapons Wild match between Roxanne Perez and Blair Davenport, two wrestlers that I have known for many years with other names. You have to add the extra syllables. Roxanne defeated Blair. I'm gonna be, I tweeted. I don't tweet anymore. Who does that? I posted on Blue Sky, because I'm on that. If you ever have an invite, seek me out. I posted on Blue Sky. I'm doing my review tonight of the show, but don't be surprised if don't come, is what I said, if you enjoy NXT, because I will not be kind. And I have no intention to be kind here. This stunk. Nobody can tell me this match was good. They can, but I will vehemently disagree. I don't think either girl worked hard. I think they worked okay, but I don't think they worked hard. And I think, and here, I believe weapons matches in the softest era of PG WWE is cringe as hell. It is skin crawling, awkward. It makes me, I feel embarrassed looking at people wail on each other. I get embarrassed having a grown adult being put a trash can over them and that get repeatedly hit on the trash can by a kendo stick, I believe Blair had. And the adult with the trash can is just kneeling there and going, not trying to get out and selling like she's being cracked across the face with it. Again, this doesn't make sense in the context of WWE, who are so fucking scared of even the tiniest bit of blood to show up on their TV that they're doing hardcore matches, weapons wild, where no one really leans into it. There is no violence to this. It's watered down, diluted, it sucks, and you know what? The wrestlers think it sucks too, because they're not putting any effort into it. And I don't blame them. This was not as bad it's not as bad. Yes, and like we're pointing out in the chat, you get hit with the kendo stick and you have the armor, the trash can armor around you. It doesn't hurt as much, right? It'll just, but Warren, it resonates so much in your ears. I'm like, oh, fuck off. This was not as bad as the awful, plotting, detestable match that Roxanne Perez had with Cora Jade at Halloween Havoc, which is still one of the dirt worst pay-per-views, PLEs, I have ever seen. This was boring, it was dull, it was unconvincing. And both of these women, I don't even think these women knew what this was. I don't even know, because look, here, I don't think anyone knew what this was. Listen, I was talking about commentary. Listen to this. You have Vic Joseph commentary going during entrances, during Roxanne's entrance. Have you ever seen this side of Roxanne before? Book, right? Or, have you ever seen her be this evil? And Book is going, yeah, I'd never seen it. I can't do the voice. It's scratching the inside of my throat. But, Book rambles on, right? He's like, yeah, she's got to go to that dark place, whatever the fuck. And then, in the meantime, while they're talking about this, Roxanne is coming out. She's got that huge smile. She's got that tremendous smile, looking absolutely charming and adorable like she always does. She hugs her little sister ringside. She hugs her mom ringside. And in the meantime, commentary's going, what a dark place she has to go to. She went to that she's in. I've never seen her in this state. I'm like, what are we doing? What are you trying to tell me? Left brain, right brain right now. You're telling me something, but what I'm seeing on TV does not jive. Like, I'm a smart guy, but at some point, I'm just like, no, I'm not trying to make the connection here for you. This does not make sense. And this does not feel like a blood feud. They've been they showed footage, that they fought in a convenience store. Hey, by the way, speaking of convenience, isn't it convenient that WWE was able to get their hands on the security footage from wherever the hell they fought, and use it, and get, all the paperwork settled up legally to be able to air that on TV? Isn't that convenient? But they're doing all of this and they're pushing it as a blood feud. And Roxanne is coming out and she's like, chirpy derp derp derp. Hey guys, let's have cookies and go on a picnic in the flower beds. It's like, fuck, I do not understand how anyone looks at this and is like, this is spot on. This is pro wrestling, folks. I don't get it. I do not get it. I really don't. It's and I'll tell you one thing. I don't know what happened to Roxy. You know, I do a bit sometimes, right? Where I'm going to use the person's previous name that I was introduced to, and some, I'll use it liberally. But I don't know what happened to Roxy. I don't know where that woman is anymore. I have no idea what happened to her, because this Roxanne Perez person is not her. I think they took Roxy and they have her stowed away, in sub-basement 9 of the WWE headquarters in Stanford, and they cloned her and they created Roxanne Perez, who, because I do not know who Roxanne Perez is. Roxy does not exist anymore. Roxanne Perez is not the same Roxy, if this is Roxy, Roxy has regressed. She is not on the level that she was. I saw Roxy put on some truly compelling matches. Fun, dynamic, fast-paced. I have not seen any of this in World Wrestling Entertainment by this Roxanne Perez lady. I don't know who she is. Roxanne Perez beats Blair Davenport using pop rocks on a stack of 4 or 5 chairs in the ring. Roxy would run circles around Roxanne Perez. She absolutely would. Let's make this a fight. So you think I'm miserable now watching this show? You think I'm sitting here going, oh my God, guess what's up next? Gable Steveson makes his NXT debut after that extraordinary promo that they hyped up. The one was Gable Steveson chooses his career path. What was it? What was the exact wording? Makes a decision about his future, right? That's how it was hyped, something to that effect. And he comes to the ring and he is the most boring ass promo that I have seen in such a long time on Major League Television. We make fun of Jack Perry because Jack Perry is in he's swimming with the sharks when it comes to promos in AEW. He's surrounded by the best of the best. So when he picks up the mic and he doesn't have all that, that he doesn't have that MJF natural charisma. He doesn't have that John Moxley swagger. He doesn't have that Eddie Kingston energy. He doesn't have that Ricky Stark swag. Oh, no, Jack Perry stinks. Listen to this fucking guy. Stiff as a board. No emotion, no energy, nothing. No connection. Doesn't even try to create one. Anyway, I'm not talking about the promo, but it leads in here. And you want to talk about bad? Let's talk about how bad Gable Steveson is at professional wrestling. I get it. He's the most decorated amateur wrestler, right? On planet Earth of all time, right? Something to that effect. Right? Good for him. Oh God, he can do belly to belly overheads. Oh, he got those down, and they're pretty and they're good. It's an amateur wrestling move. Hopefully, he's able to pull that shit off. But that's it. That's all he got. Finito. Put it in the box. Lock it up. Throw the box away. Swallow the key. Poop it out. Flush it. Make it disappear. No presence. No charisma. No understanding on how to work a crowd. This guy is a dud. But Warren. What? Just give him time. He is coming in to learn. He is a trainee. Listen, the level of reaction that I have regarding Gable Steveson is proportional to the expectations that WWE created towards me as a viewer in regards to this guy. This is a guy that has been pushed by the company as the next big thing. They made a big deal out of signing him. A tremendous deal signing him. They they drafted him to Raw. They had him drinking beers with Steve Austin at WrestleMania. He is the face of their NIL program. And this guy is not worth the hype. And these chicken shit bookers in NXT can't even muster up the courage to prove to me that he's worth the time on his debut because the match goes to a fucking count out. So not only is he an absolute slug in the ring, that he does not understand pro wrestling in the slightest. He's got no naturals. WWE doesn't even give me the effort in trying to convince me that he's worthwhile. Count out on his debut. What are we doing? This is not how you build a star, folks, and I don't care what you tell me. Give him time, well, there's going to be a rematch. This is not how you build a star. So all this tells me is that WWE does not have confidence in this guy. A guy that they have rammed down our throats, that they've pushed, that they want to make sure that that we understand that he's a big deal, but he's not a big deal. He's nothing. He's another complete slug that they have on their hands. Like I said, drafted him to Raw, the face of their NIL program. They don't give him a win. They do not give him a win. This is such basic pro wrestling booking, and I love everyone. You know, Fred's, how you doing? But I love the optimism. But this is not how you book. It's so simple. You have him debut, you give him a win. It's not hard. Because listen, I'll give you one thing. It doesn't matter if he stinks in the ring, because WWE fans don't really care about in-ring work. They want personalities, they want catchphrases, they want stories. That's what they want. But right now, Gable Stevenson has nothing of those. He's got nothing. But let's just say, eventually, they pair him up with someone, give him a mouthpiece, whatever. You know, it's like, and they're, you know, you give him a mouthpiece and whatever, he'll get over. If the company wants him to get over, if WWE says this is the guy, it's just like Austin Theory. If the company says this is the guy, who cares what the crowd is going to say? We saw that with Roman Reigns for years. For years. So it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if he's good or bad in the ring, because there will always be apologists. There will always be people going, he's going to improve. Oh, he's not that bad. Oh, he's going to get better. That's always the thing. That's always the thing with WWE fans. They're getting better. They're getting better. You hear that all the fucking time. But then at one point, do you get really good professional wrestlers? At what point does your time watching television include great professional? I'm not talking good, passable, we'll see. Great professional wrestling happening before your eyes. Make your fan base believe, right? Make your fan base believe that this guy is a guy. Because right now, no one believes he's a guy. They were booing him mid-match. They were chanting, "You're not Angle," towards him, because they being WWE are not bolstering this guy. They're not pushing him as a star. And him not getting a win at the end, complete disaster. Disastrous. That's not how you make stars. And I'm sorry, it's not. You want a star in pro wrestling? This ain't it. He should. Did he really choose to go to NXT instead of going to the Olympics? Because if I were him, I'd go to the Olympics. If there's still time. But out of the gate, I'm telling you, the company doesn't believe in him right now. The crowd turned on this guy because he's a fucking sack of rocks. And not just because he can't go, he's got no personality. He's got no charisma. He does not own the room. He does not carry himself like a pro wrestler. And I've heard people say it's so unfair to compare him to Kurt Angle. Again, this is not on Gable Steveson. This is the company who put him in the company. of Kurt Angle, saying, "Oh, he's a pro, he's a great collegiate athlete and an Olympic star, just like Kurt Angle." So the connections are happening right now. The connections are happening in people's minds. This is not Kurt Angle, and hell yeah, he's not Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was a phenomenon, and probably one that's going to take decades before we ever see again. His brother, Stevenson's brother, Damon Kemp, he gets it more. He understands pro wrestling more. And this is a guy where I will tell you, he is green, but I can see room for improvement for him. Stevenson, he doesn't even have fucking basics. He doesn't get it. There was nothing Baron Corbin can do to save this. Nothing Baron Corbin could do to save this. Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, a guy best known to carry people to great matches, right? Not saying he's terrible, just saying interesting choice. This was a disaster. This was a bad wrestling match that finished in the worst possible way when you're debuting someone that you are trying to convince your audience that they are the greatest thing in pro wrestling right now. Let's hit the bricks now. Silver Apocalypse, nice to see you and welcome. Next, we got the WWE NXT North American triple threat match where Dominic Mysterio retained his title against Mustafa Ali and Wes Lee. So I did not watch this show live. I was busy on Sunday evening. I watched the replay the next day. So during the evening, I was told by someone close who said, "Hey, so the Dominic stuff in this match is minimal. And this was overall a pretty good match with Ali and Wes Lee carrying the bulk of it." I'm like, okay, that's probably how I'd book it, right? But then I watched it, and let me tell you, there was not minimal Dominic stuff. The entire final stretch of this match is Dominic Mysterio nonsense. Take it easy, Warren. Blood pressure. Listen, there's a whole section here where Mustafa Ali and Wes Lee go at it, okay? And in this segment, as I'm watching it, I'm sitting down and I'm enjoying it. I'm like, this is what this match should have been. It should have been just these two guys. Who cares about titles? Let's just have guys have a cool match. Two guys, two very talented pro wrestlers, just let them have a cool match. And that's it. Sometimes that's the reward. Sometimes that's the story. Let's just have a cool match. But this whole final stretch just tosses away everything that was built in this match. Everything that was put together didn't matter because they had to find a way to let Dominic weasel his way to a victory. Rhea Riptide's Wes Lee on commentary, I will concur. That was cool. Now, the referee takes a title away from Dominic. Dominic's in the ring, he's got a title, and the referee pulls it away. And I'm like, it's no DQ. What are you doing, ref? And then we have a whole ref distracted, blind belt shot from Dominic in the ring. And I'm like, why are we doing this? Who cares? It's no disqualifications. This is always the thing. It's a triple threat match. In WWE, they are all no disqualifications. There was just a guy that was ran through commentary by outside interference. You're going to tell me, oh, we got to be sneaky now with the belt shot. Who fucking cares? You know when I tell you that this show's all over the place and no one knows what anything is? Here you go. Once again, Ali lands a 450. Rhea drags him out when he tries to do the pin. And then Dominic lands a frog splash. And no, I'm not mad because Dominic is such a good heel. I'm annoyed because the Dominic stuff stinks. Dominic stinks. He's bad. And this is another guy that the excuse is like, he's getting better, Warren. Stop it. Stop. When he's being pushed like he's being pushed, because mind you, let me tell you right now what is happening to Dominic Mysterio and what has been happening over the past, well, since WrestleMania easily, is what we call in the business a push. This is a true to form push. He's got a title on top of it all. This is a push. So it's not like, oh, he's improving. No. We're being told that he is good enough to be pushed in the company. This is what it's telling you. And Dominic stinks. And I know what they're trying to do. Again, you don't have to explain to me. He's supposed to be terrible. He's a shit heel and so on and so forth. You know who else was a shit heel and was terrible and never won his matches clean and had a title for the better part of a year? Honky Tonk Man. But you know what the difference is between Dominic and Honky Tonk Man? Honky Tonk Man could talk his way into a building, could talk you into a building, talk you into hating him, and had charisma, had personality. He understood how to command a room too. He knew how to connect with the crowd. Dominic doesn't. Dominic just ambles in. Like, okay, I'll stand over here. The Judgment Day was a vehicle to get Rhea Ripley over. Rhea Ripley is legitimately over. She's the most over of those four guys, of those four people. She's not a guy. So I understand, and I've seen more than enough professional wrestling to understand what they're doing with Dominic Mysterio. But this gimmick, this thing has happened before in the past multiple times with much more talented people than Dominic. And I'm not talking necessarily work rate freaks. I'm talking abilities, capacity, understanding of pro wrestling, understanding of how a room works. He is working for the biggest wrestling company in the world. And people are okay with him just being average and fine and mediocre. The meme is done. And I promise you, they don't know what to do with him once this Judgment Day thing comes to a crashing halt. Because Rhea's going to be fine. Rhea's going to be fine. Finn Balor's going to be fine. I would even wager that Damian Priest is going to be fine. Babyface Dom Mysterio, that's going to sink. Anyway, look, I thought this match had moments, but they were all squashed under the nonsense. And listen, look at so far, okay? Listen, okay? The tag team opening match. There were weapons swinging. We had to swing a crowbar in this match before getting to the finish. The weapons wild bullshit was like bullshit from top to bottom. Baron Corbin, Gable Steveson went to a count out. And this one here, there's interference galore. We can't get a proper finish in this company. We're 4 matches deep. And I've not had a single proper, clean, dominant finish. Tiffany Stratton defeated Thea Hale to retain her NXT Women's title. Preface, I like Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton has all the tools to be big in WWE. She's got everything she needs to be big in WWE. She has all the attributes they want. Every single box is checked with that woman. I like her. I also think she's extremely charismatic. Those pre-tapes that she cut on Thea, I thought they were fantastic. I think she's I think she's getting it, as opposed to Gable Steveson. This is what I mean, folks. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton, she was a little rough at first, but she's getting it. And she's putting the effort in. And she's watching tape. And she's watching Christopher Daniels. She's watching Kenny Omega. You know, she's not sitting around watching, old, one-man gang tapes, but I'm talking WWE one-man gang, because if we went back, anyway. She's leaning into the good stuff, and she's learning. And she's getting it. She's far from perfect, as this match will attest to. But she has tools. She has something where you're like, oh, there's something here. Whereas there are people in this company. And no, you will never carve something out of this. So I just want to preface that I really, really like Tiffany Stratton. I've said it before. I'll say it again. But I'm not the type that's going to jump in front of the barricades and say, what a fantastic match. She is so great. She's the best. Let's pump the brakes. I can like someone while knowing that they still have a long way to go. And Tiffany Stratton has a long way to go before being a complete package. She's not there yet. And we've talked about this, I think it was last week. And you don't have to run in to the gates immediately when someone new comes out and you really like and you think they're good, and you don't have to go to the barricades and scream, they're fantastic. They're the greatest wrestler out there. They do, they're so great, and you keep putting over how great they are when in fact they are learning and improving, because when the moment comes where they are legitimately great, you'll have emptied yourself of all your great that you'll already probably be onto something else. You're not doing them any service here. You're not doing good by them by lifting them up onto a pedestal and making them better than what they are right now. Tiffany Stratton, she has good fundamentals. I think she's developed them in the PC. I think she gets pro wrestling now. I think she understands what she can do, what her strengths are. But by God, she's not a finished product. And we're not going to sit around and say, Queen, slay. No. We're going to pump the brakes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I would love nothing less than in 10 years from now to be sitting in front of you and saying, Tiffany Stratton, finally, she's a great pro wrestler. Is that not what she is right now? I still like her, but she's not there yet. And Thea Hale is annoying. But the problem that we have here, so listen, submission matches. The problem that is inherent with submission matches, and this is coming from a guy who likes his grappling, okay? He likes the mat work, he likes the limb work. Likes a little, some transitions in and out. I get a little sweaty when I watch some Zack Sabre Jr. Some 2004 Bryan Danielson. I get, whoo. You start getting a little hot under the collar, that kind of stuff. Some Katsuyori Shibata twisting people into knots. But the problem with submission matches overall is that they're generally boring. And they're boring even with experienced wrestlers who know how to do it. Remember Bret Hart and Bob Backlund, for instance? Anyway, because look, you can have like the greatest scientific. I love using the word scientific wrestlers. That is such an 80s. Early 90s way to talk about technical wrestling. He's a scientific wrestler. I love that. But it's like, you could get people like Danielson, like Zack Sabre Jr., like Shibata, like Ken Shamrock, like Kurt Angle, like Tony Deppen, like Dean Malenko. These guys have a chance to make it good because these guys are masters of the craft. But I would argue that 7 out of 10 submission matches stink because of the nature of what they are. Now you're telling me Tiffany Stratton, Thea Hale, 2-year Performance Center rookies, are trained enough, are knowledgeable enough, have gone through it enough together to put on display a compelling, exciting submissions only match? Come on now. There's a difference. There's a difference between throwing someone into the deep end and see if they sink or swim, or setting them up to fucking fail. And this is not fair. It's not fair to either of these ladies. And that's my major, massive gripe with this match, is that neither of these women were ready to carry the burden of a submissions only match. This was going fine for a while. Not great, not good, fine. Yeah, it was all right. But then the finish happens. Stratton locks in a Boston Crab, and she has so much trouble hanging on to it. She drops it at some point. And the thing here is that Thea Hale is struggling to get out of the Boston Crab. A Boston Crab. Tiffany, a Boston Crab. Thank your lucky stars that your trainer is not Katsuyori Shibata, because you would have you would have been on the business end of a Boston Crab for 15 minutes after that. A Boston Crab. And like I said, the story of this finish is Thea Hale is struggling, but she doesn't want to give up. But Tiffany is holding her there, and she just won't tap. Tiny little 19-year-old Thea Hale just will not tap. So what happens? You have Chase U guy, I forget his name, throws the towel in. And the referee calls the match. 5 out of 5 so far that we cannot get a decisive, conclusive win without shenanigans or nonsense or weapons or, any kind of outside nonsense. 5 out of 5, folks. And again, make your champ look strong. Why were we trying to protect Thea Hale over your current NXT Women's Champion, who was it was her first PLE defense, right? Why didn't she just slap on the fucking Boston Crab and bend her back and keep her in the move for 3 minutes? I don't give a shit. Have Thea Hale tap, not pass out, not have someone throw the fucking towel. Go like this, like this. This is so stupid. Make your champions look strong, dominant. I know, look, maybe this was best considering that Tiffany Stratton couldn't fucking hold on to a Boston Crab. Maybe this was the best outcome. I don't know what to tell you. This is nonsense. Absolute dirt nonsense to have Thea Hale not tap out to the champ. There's no reason to protect this lady. No reason. I will say that I think there had to be something going on with Tiffany Stratton, because the one thing I noticed that for the longest time while the Boston Crab was applied, they never switched camera to show Stratton's face. I don't know if something was up. Did she get her bell rung? Did she get a little confused? Like, did something happen? And she had her hair all in front of her face. Like, they didn't do any cuts to Stratton's face. And you know how much they like showing off the faces in NXT going, why would they have missed out on that opportunity? There's something odd happened. I'll go that far. There's something that wasn't exactly going as planned. Jesus Christ, make your champion look strong. You have the other guy doing his debut. You can't even give him a win. Dominic, I understand Dominic is, it doesn't matter. It's a whole heel, chicken shit heel thing. That's fine. But look, and just give Stratton the decisive victory. That's all. Motown Slim, member of the MrWarrenHayes show. Nice to see you. Welcome. Oh, it was worse not that long ago. And then we reached the main event, and the only thing that made this show that helped raise this show, where Carmelo Hayes successfully retained the NXT title against Ilya Dragunov. Now, okay, let me go back and check. Let me go back and check here on Cage Match, because when I was putting my notes together yesterday, I saw... No, this is insane. So right now on Cage Match, are you ready for this? The Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov main event from NXT Great American Bash 2023 is currently rated at 9.19 votes. That, folks, puts it up there as a 4.5 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5 stars on the Meltzer scale. It puts it among the 150 greatest matches of all time. This was a good match. I enjoyed it, but we're not even close. We got to pump the brakes here. We are not even remotely close to even a 4 out of 10. It's not bad, but it wasn't a great match. It was a very good match. I enjoyed it. This is insane. Again, I do not know what World Wrestling Entertainment fans want out of their wrestling. Anyway, this was good, very good match of the night. Like, without question, when the bar is in the fucking dirt, but seriously, like, this was very good. But it's not fucking top 150 matches of all time good. Early on in the match, I think it's even during presentations, Vic Joseph says, Dragunov has defeated WrestleMania caliber superstars. Let me repeat that. He says, Dragunov has defeated WrestleMania caliber superstars. What does that even mean? What does that mean? WrestleMania caliber superstars. Someone has to tell me what that means, because that runs the gamut. That goes up and down. You've had your Steve Austins, you've had your Undertakers, you've had, your Chris Jericho's up at the top. But you've also had Mideon, you've had King Mabel, you've had Honky Tonk Man on WrestleManias. What the fuck does that even mean? What does it mean? WrestleMania caliber matches. Now, did he mean WrestleMania main eventers? Then I'm like, no, that can't be right. I'm pretty sure Ilya didn't do that. Didn't defeat any WrestleMania main eventers in his career. What is a WrestleMania caliber wrestler? It is literally, they stuff as many people they can on the show. What are we talking about? Lawrence Taylor is a WrestleMania caliber superstar. I don't even know what that means. Anyway, this match was a blast, and they're building slow. This was a well put together match, building slow, clearly going for a big time match, big time progression, and it worked. And Ilya's throwing bombs. And look, I was watching this. You know, the reason why I didn't watch it live Sunday. Little peek behind the curtain. My oldest son lives outside of town, and he came to visit for 5 days last week. So on Sunday night we had preparations, affairs, and on Monday morning he went out to brunch with some friends from around here, and then he comes back and he sees me watching the thing, you know, and he's like, oh, yeah, how was brunch? Oh, brunch was great. Oh, you still watching some more wrestling? Yeah, you want to watch the rest with me? And I didn't tell him, oh, I can watch this later. He says, no, sit down, I'll watch it with you. And we're watching this. We're watching the main event to this, thank fucking God. Because he would have seen his father so fucking irate. Anyway. So we're watching this, and Ilya's throwing bombs, right? He's just going nuts. So I'm watching this with my son, my oldest son. And he's watching Ilya just, you know, demolish, you know, Carmelo Hayes with some strikes. And he looks at me and he says, Dad, is wrestling still fake? Because he never watches it. He never watches pro wrestling. And he goes, is wrestling still fake? So, you know, everything was going well in this match. And Hayes was very good. I'm talking about Ilya, but look, he does this tremendous satellite DDT on Dragunov that just plants Ilya straight on his head. Fantastic satellite DDT. That awesome spot, of course, where he anti-airs Dragunov, who's doing a coast to coast, anti-airs him with a code breaker. What a spot. What a sell from Ilya. Just that fucking ruled. Superplex into a cutter. We're growing. We're getting somewhere. But then the finish. Are we going 6 for 6, folks? Or are we going to go 1 and 5? Ilya Dragunov, Torpedo Moscow's on the floor off the stairs. Trick Williams is in the way. He's got the NXT title. He's sort of holding it up like this. He accidentally brains Ilya with it. So Carmelo drags him back into the ring, does the nothing but net, and gets the win because, of course, not a single definitive, weapon-free, no-nonsense finish on this fucking show. Not a single fucking one. And you had champions who could have benefited from a clean as a sheet win. They never hesitated with Braun to give him clean as a sheet finishes. Why are we being so cagey with Carmelo? Now, is it maybe because they don't have faith in him? I'm begging you all to trust me on this, because these are signs. These are signs that the company, the booker, whoever you want to put the onus on, does not believe in their champion when the champion doesn't come out and have strong, dominant, clear-cut wins. They don't have faith. They can't all be Roman Reigns right now. Roman Reigns, he's in a special little environment. He's in his own little ecosystem. He's doing his own thing, but they can't all be, especially when they're baby faces. There was no reason for Tiffany Stratton to not get a clean as a sheet win over Thea Hale. No reason. There was no reason for Carmelo Hayes to not put away Ilya clean as a whistle and have people like me go, big win for Carmelo Hayes defeating Ilya Dragunov. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is WWE bullshit. Proves nothing. And It just shows, the only thing that it does prove is that quite possibly our boy Mike Hickenbottom doesn't entirely trust Carmelo with the title. And there are examples of this all throughout WWE history. You just have to look at even your very recent Money in the Bank winners, maybe not the super recent, but like the immediate ones, the 2023, but think of Big E. First time he comes out, he loses. Look at Nikki Cross. Look at Liv Morgan. They never got behind Liv Morgan, ever. They gave her the title to shut people up with the Money in the Bank thing, but she was a geek. She was treated like a geek. She won matches like a geek. They never believed in her. She's never sniffing a singles title again in that company. Now, I understand. I also understand. I talked about Braun, and I just want to underscore this. Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker had a dominant win. They were bringing in people from the main roster and having him beat them. 1, 2, 3, bam, 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 clean as a whistle, middle of the ring. And they had him have the title for fucking 70 million years. That was proof that they believed in him, that they had confidence in him. Might have been a little misplaced, might have been a little long in the tooth, but you never doubted that he was the guy. I know that you're supposed to say Carmelo Hayes is him, but in reality, I don't see him as him. And the booking supports that. He is not him. He's not the guy. He is a guy, but he is not the guy. I clearly do not expect him to have a Braun Breaker length style run moving forward. Now, as I was about to say, I understand that this has something to do with Trick and Carmelo having tension. It's like, oh, Trick accidentally bonked the other guy. Oopsie doopsie. And I look at all of this and I'm like, okay. They don't trust Carmelo. They don't trust Carmelo. Ilya Dragunov, he's a waste in NXT. What are we even doing? He is miles above any of these schlubs. Like, I don't even want him on main. Just get him or look, if he goes on main, put him in this circle with Walter and Sheamus and Drew. Just put him in the ass kicker group. And just, upper mid card, match of the night kind of stuff where he doesn't have to carry a title, where he doesn't have to do all this storyline bullshit where it's just like, hey, let's just fight. They're doing they did the Raw Underground thing, right, with DJ Carl Fredericks recently. And it's like, they're missing the point. They could have just the ass kicker division without, the Raw Underground nonsense that goes along with it. The unsanctioned fight business, which is preposterous and useless. Just have the guys who can beat the shit out of each other. Otherwise, just let Ilya go. But at the same time, if Ilya is happy doing what he's doing, where he doesn't have to kill himself every weekend, wrestling on the indies in Germany or whatever, good for him. Make the money. Recently married too, got a new wife. Maybe she has a say in this. I don't know. But it's such a waste. But yes, look, good, very good main event, solid, strong work, great stuff by both guys, killer spots. But what a mediocre professional wrestling show. That's all there is to it. And I get excited when NXT puts on passable stuff. What was the last one? Stand and Deliver. I enjoyed Stand and Deliver, right? Like I know my main gripes and criticisms remain, but they're able to put on good shows. I know they are. Stand and Deliver, I enjoyed. What was the one? Deadline. I loved the Deadline match. I loved it. I thought everyone worked hard. I thought Grayson Waller was a shining star in that match. What was the match that Grayson Waller had with Johnny Gargano? Was that at Stand and Deliver? Or was it at the Valentine's Massacre bullshit? That was great too. Like that's the thing, is that the minute we start straying, when I say we, I mean they start straying from doing pro wrestling, they lose me, and they lose me in the worst way possible. Because it gets just more and more egregious as we move on. So I do not recommend this show. Skip it, and you'll be better off for it, unless you're a glutton for punishment. That's like, look, it's not unlike, and we'll give this for comparison's sake. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I watched Triple Mania, the Tijuana show, right? Which was the absolute shits. Just a goddamn bad, objectively bad pro wrestling match, a show. One main event, which was kind of like this. Main event where you go, well, at least there's this. But just a terrible show. This was not on the level of Triple Mania Tijuana, thank God. But it has all the trappings that distract, that take you away from watching pro wrestling. But then again, like I said, I don't know what WWE fans want. I don't understand what they want. And this is not a show, this is not a pro wrestling show, it is a show about pro wrestling. These are people who do pro wrestling moves, but this is what I see. What I watched with Thea Hale and Tiffany Stratton was not a pro wrestling match. What I watched with the Weapons Wild and Gable Steveson, those were not professional wrestling matches. They were wearing masks. It was performance theater, people wearing masks of pro wrestlers is what it was. And that's not for me. I don't like it. There you go. All right. Let's do some AEW talk a little bit now that we're out of the NXT stuff. There's been a lot of over the past couple of days, there's been a lot of discourse around the lack of matches for All In, the Wembley show, right? We are now, if I'm not mistaken, could take a minute to check if you want, but if I'm not mistaken, we are very, very close to 80,000 tickets distributed for Wembley, which is tremendous. Like, everything is on course right now for this show to be the All In Daily Tracker. There we go. That's what I want. And as of today, according to WrestleTix, 77,565 tickets distributed for a setup of 84,000. I mean, that's tremendous, right? That is a ridiculous amount of tickets sold, a huge arena. Like, this is a big deal, right? And there, there's a lot of people who are complaining that there aren't any there hasn't been any matches announced on this. And I think I want to break this down a little bit, because I have a few thoughts that are admittedly not my own, but that I absolutely and vehemently agree with. Because we need to differentiate, I think, the business aspect of it and the significance of the show. And I think these are two things we need to sort of split apart. Now, we know, especially if you're listeners to the Mr. Warren Hayes show, we've pointed this out multiple times. We know Tony Khan is a believer in the late buys of the pay-per-view. This is behavior that we have seen observed over the course of AEW's history. We'll drop in a main event, something to captivate the imagination, and the shows will fill in. The rest of the card will fill in 2 weeks, a week, couple of days before the show. Because to him, and he probably has the data to back this up. This is always very important. This is data we don't have access to, but he probably sees the data and says, "Oh, I need to focus on the late buys." That's where the business is. And I get that. I understand that. And, it's like we talked about, even once, the pre-sale was done and the pre-sale was already sold out for Wembley, we had talked about it. We had said, look, the show is selling out and there are no matches announced. So what is the impetus for Tony Khan to put himself to put himself in a position where he's starting to promote a main event weeks ahead of time, months ahead of time, when the show's sold out? And all he has to do really is collect the revenue coming in from pay-per-view buys, which will in all likelihood be late buys. And I think from a business perspective, I think that is not a bad perspective. Maybe one that I don't entirely agree with, but one which is not bad because it has proven to be successful for AEW. The other thing that's probably, having Tony pump the brakes a little bit and trying to promote too hard is the problem. Maybe he doesn't want to put himself into a position, not unlike Forbidden Door last year, where we're putting together a card. We've got these matches. We're teasing these matches. We're hinting at these matches. We're promoting certain matches. And then we have to pull the matches because of injuries, because of travel restrictions, because of COVID restrictions, whatever the fuck. Whatever reasons came out last year that a bunch of matches didn't come together for All Out, that sort of shot him in the foot. There were matches that were not announced. There's always that rumor that we were supposed to get Hiroshi Tanahashi versus CM Punk. And, for reasons that didn't happen. There's a bunch of stuff that was supposed to happen that didn't happen. So maybe he doesn't want, and look at what just happened to him with Death Before Dishonor. Complete disaster of a build. But apparently it's like this was a difficult show to put together. There was stuff happening. Of course, Mark Briscoe gets injured. There's just Eddie Kingston goes off, does the G1. That's something you can control, though, as opposed to an injury. That's not quite the same. But nonetheless, he was, maybe he's a little chilly because he's been burned so many times. Maybe he's just a little afraid to go too hard in promoting the show and promoting people on the show and getting matches out there. And again, this is something that I can understand, and it makes business sense because then you are not setting up an expectation where it could eventually fail, where you have to substitute for something that will not be as good as what you originally had planned. And these circumstances can often be seen as bait and switch situations. So it's not good public relations in the long run. However, outside of these business considerations, the significance of this match is important because this is turning out to be, it has the potential to be, the most attended pro wrestling show in pro wrestling history. This has the, where the army wasn't obligating you to go. And that is significant. That's significant, not just, it's significant. It goes beyond just business considerations. This is a match that people will be talking about, will remember. Now, how do you want the legacy of this match to be remembered? Full audience and a so-so card? Or do you want a killer card with a rabid, exciting fan base, an audience, hanging from the rafters, going nuts in Wembley. You know what I mean? And the points that I'm bringing up here, like I said, these aren't my own. The guys, Rich and Joe over at the flagship podcast last week, I'm essentially paraphrasing, echoing their points because I'm in complete agreement with them. This is turning out to be the most attended pro wrestling show in history. So yes, it's doing tremendous business, doing absolutely tremendous business on the back of nothing. Nothing's been announced. But the historical significance of the show has to be built on something, because we are not just going... I don't think anyone really wants this discourse to be Wembley was packed, but the main event was Kip Sabian versus Griff Garrison. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I think you get my vibe here, right? And if they don't deliver a big time card, if they don't deliver something huge with lots of compelling matches and just great action, it runs the risk. If it runs the risk of not delivering, you are running the risk of burning the territory for future considerations. This is your first time in the UK. There's 80,000 people who are ready to shell out tickets to come see your show. You had best have your best foot forward here and make sure that it is a night to remember. And it's kind of wild to me that we're 4 weeks away. There's 4 Dynamites left before the All In Wembley show. And nothing has been confirmed. Nothing has been announced. And it goes a little beyond that. They're not even promoting the show. They're not even talking about the show. WWE right now have started hammering us over the head for WrestleMania next year in Philadelphia. We've already got the ads going. I'm seeing more things go around for Dynamite 200 tomorrow. Who gives a fuck about Dynamite 200? Especially in this context. I don't give a shit. I honestly could not care less about the 200th episode of Dynamite as opposed to the Wembley show. And again, like I said, a lot of what I'm going to say, I'm echoing here. But the show right now, that they're not mentioning Wembley, they're not hammering over the head. Like, this is such a huge achievement for AEW right now. Like, this is it is a tremendous business move that it is. Think about it. 5 years in, and they are filling up Wembley. Something that WWE in its 50 years has only tried to do once. And they're 5 years in. They've got basic TV. They've never run another show anywhere. Never run another show anywhere in the UK, they being AEW. And they're coming in and they're filling up Wembley. But they're not promoting it. They're not hammering it over the head. They're not telling us every 2 minutes. That might be a little exaggerating, but every second quarter hour. Why don't we have a spot, showcasing London and showing Big Ben and fucking Buckingham Palace and the Piccadilly Circus and all that bullshit? It's not bullshit. Piccadilly Circus is lovely. But you know what I mean? Like that kind of bullshit. Just, it's nuts to me. It breaks my brain that you're going into the biggest show your company will have ever put on, and you can barely squeeze squeeze it out of Excalibur on Wednesday nights. Barely squeeze it out of Ian Riccoboni on Saturdays. What are we doing? Every wrestler should be coming in talking about, I want to go to Wembley. The only guy who did it was CM Punk on Saturday. And he sort of goes, well, I don't know if I'm going. Maybe by the end of the night. It's like, what the fuck is this? Because this is weird. It's weird as fuck. It's the weirdest shit in the world. And I'll tell you what's even weirder is that we don't even know how to buy it yet. We don't even know how to buy it yet. No clue. It's bizarre. We figured it out because reporters had to go to their sources to get the news. God bless Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics, the weekly Brandon Thurston WrestleNomics plug. In Demand, he figured this out. He went to his sources. In Demand and DirecTV have confirmed to him that AEW All In on August 27 will be offered as a pay-per-view, according to the pay-per-view carriers, according to separate spokespeople. Just as simple as that. In Demand is the pay-per-view carrier, by the way, for most US cable systems. I don't want to say most, many. The price on In Demand will be $49.99 US, which is consistent, as Brandon pointed out. That this is consistent with other AEW pay-per-views. All In will be available on DirecTV channel 106 on the satellite services. Roughly 12 million customers for a similar price point. And we had to go to sources to get this. In Canada, the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, the event will be offered digitally on In Demand's ppv.com service. Prices will vary by country. Meltzer had reported that All In will be on pay-per-view through cable operator Comcast, which happens to work with In Demand and provides cable TV to more than 15 million homes in the US. This is all stuff that I'm pulling off of WrestleNomics here. I'm not making this shit up. AEW has yet to confirm All In will be distributed exclusively through pay-per-view. They have not even told us how to watch it. And we've already learned a couple of weeks ago, thanks to Andrew Zarian, who figured it out, who went to his sources, and he told them, yes, it will be available on Bleacher Report. Why is this not on the official copy for this show? Why is it not plastered everywhere, available on pay-per-view on this and that and this? This baffles me. I'm completely, all of it boggles my mind. There are people who are chomping at the bit. We're just like, yes, Tony, we'll buy it the last day, but tell us where to get it. This is, and I know, again, Tony Khan is probably like, look, it doesn't matter if I could announce it the day before and they're all going to go buy it there anyway. And he's probably right. He's probably right, but you have to make your audience feel comfortable, secure. There's a lot of anxiety from a lot of fans who are like, are we even going to be able to see the show? Is this just going to be a big house show? Right? Because up until this point, all it has been really is just, you could absolutely construe in your brain that this is just going to be one big house show and no one's going to be able to see this. Just, why are we hanging on to this information? Why are we hanging on to the way consumers can watch this big show? Why are we not letting these consumers know that this big show will be available? What's holding back? What's holding it back? What is holding this back? You've got 5-6 hours of cable programming per week. You have time. to talk about it. Now, I entirely believe probably by the time you listen to this, unless you're watching this live, or maybe you catch me really early on the replay on Wednesdays when the podcast officially comes out, this will probably all be moot, because I fully expect this Wednesday to start to actually have matches being set for Wembley on Dynamite this week. Like, it has to, right? It has to. Otherwise, what's the point? What are we doing? It doesn't make sense. And not to become as annoying as WWE does, but the point still stands. I think it's a fair comparison to make. We get hammered over the head. Only 128 days left till WrestleMania. It's like, and we're already getting the Philly ads, for when they open up ticket sales. And like, they've already started the hype for WrestleMania next year. And you know what? It makes it feel big. And sure, they get annoying. But no one can say right now, where's WrestleMania next year? No one is asking that. Everyone knows where it is. Everyone knows when it's happening. And it's going to be a big deal because they're making it a big deal. And it's going to be another big deal. It's weird. But since we're talking about Wembley and Wembley, the UK, Jamie Hayter, we found out, is unlikely to compete at All In. And that is as they say in the business, a fucking bummer. Jamie Hayter, I'm going to read the report off of the Figure 4 online. Jamie Hayter is unlikely for AEW's Wembley Stadium show in August. Dave Meltzer reported in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter that there has been talk that Hayter will not be able to compete at All In. He wrote specifically, "We don't have much on Jamie Hayter, but there has been at least talk she won't make it back for Wembley, which obviously would be the goal if possible." Then Fightful did a little more, Fightful Select actually did a little more reporting last Friday, saying that Hayter would not only be unable to return by All In on August 27, but a return before the end of 2023 would be quote unquote unexpected. Writing that things seem worse with her injury than anticipated. That fucking blows. And it blows for multiple reasons. And I think the basic reason why it blows is obviously because she's missing Wembley. And this was an event tailor-made to showcase Jamie Hayter as the hero. She would have gotten such a reaction. And it's a fucking bummer that can't happen. All things point to, right? Things may change, of course. But right now it doesn't look likely, right? We'll be sure to underscore here that the key word is unlikely. Still not good news. That does mean her injury is worse than than believed. And the other reason why that sucks is because the women's division really misses Jamie Hayter right now. We really need Jamie right now. That's a shame. And I wonder how bad the injury is then. Because if Fightful's report is on the nose, not be able to return by the end of 2023. Jesus, what happened to her? It was an arm thing, right? What a disaster. And this really sucks. And it sucks for Jamie. And it sucks for UK fans. For real. And this is, maybe this is one of the reasons why Tony's holding back. I don't know. I wish I'd had it. I wish I had the answer for you all. I really do. But I don't. Other than it really really bums me out that it might not be happening. AEW Collision, though, if you want to talk about that for a second. AEW Collision, and again, I keep saying, we're not doing big analysis on ratings yet. We really aren't. And it's not really my bag regardless. But I still want to make sure that you understand that I still think we need a bigger sample size of data to see how Collision is doing, and whether on Saturday nights, and before anyone starts saying this is working, this is excellent, or they're failing, or whatever. We need a bigger sample size than 7 weeks in. Couple of months. Just make sure you keep that in mind when you hear or see people on the outskirts talking about shutting things down, saying, oh, this all sucks. Collision sucks, Collision is losing, or whatever. We're not there yet. But this should be pointed out, though. This has to be pointed out. Because this past Saturday night's AEW Collision averaged 739,000 viewers this week. That is a 19.6% increase from last week, which was already huge. And it's the highest audience for the show since the premiere episode on June 17. They have beaten the previous record, which was just last week. 0.72 in the 18 to 49 demo. 0.72. Up 50% from last week. And there was UFC going on on ABC. And there was baseball on Fox. The baseball game had more than 2 million viewers and drew a 0.35 rating in 18 to 49. That was a tough night of competition for Collision. And they pull off 739,000 viewers. And when you look at the quarter hours, it's ridiculous. It is typically, as the wrestling shows usually happen and go on, you'll have some spikes at the hours, but usually towards the end of an hour, the quarter hours start to drop off. But the trend line for Collision so far is showing growth in the quarter hours. In the final 2 quarter hours is what I'm trying to say, which is, I don't want to say unprecedented, but unusual in the landscape where you don't see growth. And I'm talking growth. I'm talking substantial growth. This week, the 2 top quarter hours were for the main event. They were for FTR versus Adam Cole and MJF. And that means to me, for my little basic ass analysis here, it means to me that the Adam Cole MJF stuff is working. That people are tuning in to watch it. So I'm not so confident they're going to pull the trigger on this anytime soon. I don't think this is going to be, not when you're doing this kind of business. Not when you're doing this. Like, this has to be going above and beyond any expectations they have right now. Now, can they sustain it? That, of course, is what I mean when I say we need more data. Is right now, is 739,000 sustainable? I would argue no. The past 2 weeks, we've seen spikes. Okay, there's probably very good reasons for that, but otherwise, we've been around the 580,000 mark, 585,000, right? Week 2 was 595,000. There was the anomaly that 1 week, the weekend of July 4th, which was 542,000. Then we were back to 580, then 579, and we were doing 0.21s, 0.21s, 0.2s, all in that environment. Then all of a sudden, 618,000 last week, and then 739,000 this week. What's going on? So is this sustainable? I don't know. I still feel like 580, 570 will probably be where, Collision's going to live for a while. But we cannot but not see this as a success so far, and we cannot not dignify this as a success for the Adam Cole MJF thing, with FTR being built into a big match that people tuned in to see live. Like, all the pieces worked here. There was a nice little formula that worked. And isn't this a weird formula, right? Get people to care about pro wrestlers, treat them like big deals, build a match, and people will be excited to watch it. And the build wasn't all that long. Like, the build between FTR and Cole and MJF, we haven't done months of build here. 2 weeks. Sure, there was the tournament, but officially 2 weeks of build to this. I think this was well done. So again, we're not going to go crazy nutso here. We're not going to go cuckoo gaga with ratings analysis here, but still to consider that this has been something else. All right, so let's get to it. We're here. It's time. SummerSlam 2023. It's happening this weekend in Detroit, Michigan, Ford Field. How are we doing on this? Let me pull this up here. Let's see what kind of business we're doing here. The Ford Field. Ford Arena. Is that the same thing? There we go. Ford Field. We've got a setup of 48,387 for SummerSlam this weekend. 47,061 tickets distributed. You can expect WWE to boost those numbers a little bit, as they usually do when they do their countdowns. Of course, they add in everything with a heartbeat in the building. So that's happening this weekend, August 5th. And we have ourselves a card that's been set up here. Now, let's get the one of the elephants out of the room to begin with. I saw a lot of people very irate that Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus are having their rematch on an edition of Monday Night Raw as opposed to SummerSlam. I don't know why. And I did some asking around, because there's maybe details that I try to keep up as much as possible. And I watch some matches, I watch some vignettes, some clips. Quite frankly, watching Monday Night Raw, with a fast forward button, or watching clips provided on YouTube by the company themselves. I'm not sailing the high seas here, nothing like that. It makes for a much more enjoyable watch. Raw becomes much more enjoyable. So, I keep up, but sometimes I'm like, maybe I missed something here. Maybe there's a little something that slipped my mind. So I asked around in the Discord today, the MrWarrenHayes Show Discord. Join, link is in the description. Did I miss something? Was Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch announced for SummerSlam, and then they were pulled? Or was this just an expectation that the audience had and everyone was like, no, this was just an expectation? I was like, oh, okay, be mad then. It doesn't matter. And then I wonder Like, why didn't you do it? Because it does feel like a big enough match, right? And they're doing it in Raw, on a Raw in 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, maybe they just want a big time match to sell a few more tickets. I don't think it's such big a deal. Because look, between all of us listening right now, Trish and Becky is not going to be match of the year here. It's not going to be something that we're going to be raving about over the next couple of months. Trish looked terrible at WrestleMania. And no, hang on a second. She looked fine at WrestleMania, but she looked terrible at Money in the Bank. It was like, no, it's fine, Trish, we're good. So I'm not particularly, to me, as a guy who's going to just pop in and watch SummerSlam, I'm like, whoo, we dodged a bullet that time, boys. I wasn't expecting anything great out of that. Why would you do that? Like, it's okay to not put that on the pay-per-view, but you cannot deny that match has name value. And if you want to use it for a market in which maybe you're struggling for some tickets, for some sales, well, why don't you bring in a bigger name? I think that's okay, right? Like, isn't it like it's the Monday Night Limit? I'm looking at the numbers here again. Thank you, WrestleTix, for all of this. It's in Winnipeg, Manitoba. They're doing it at the Canada Life Center. They have a setup of 8,628. There's only 300 tickets left. So unless they're going to boost up the capacity, maybe that's what they want. I mean, it's not as if they're struggling to sell tickets, to get tickets out there, right? It's not as if they're struggling. It's a weird decision, but maybe that's what they want. Maybe they just want to pop a rating. They just want people to watch Monday Night Raw. Like, there's multiple reasons to do it. Who cares if it's not on SummerSlam or not? Again, look, and I don't want to seem disingenuous here, because I'm a big Becky Lynch guy. I will always be a Becky Lynch guy at heart. But the thing is that, and I'm on the record here saying, you know what? Having Trish come in and wrestle as a legend, like they do so much, with the like they do so much with the guys, the legends that they just have come in and they wrestle. They'll do a few spots. They'll do a few shows, and then they'll hit the bricks. Then they'll come back, with Edge and stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Why couldn't we do that with the women? That's fine. Do that for the women too. So I'm okay with all of this. But I also think we need to call a spade a spade. Trish Stratus has never been considered a great worker. I don't even think she's a good worker. I think she's a fine... I think she's a fine pro wrestler. I don't think she's anything special. And her contributions to pro wrestling, and specifically women's wrestling, go far beyond anything that she did within the confines of a match. This is a woman who came in to be just another pretty face, and she said, I don't want to be just another pretty face. I want to do what the dudes do. And that's where she started, breaking down doors, changing perceptions of what women in pro wrestling in North America should do. And we should always add the North America thing, because meanwhile in Japan, but that's a conversation for another time. So that's where her significance, her utmost importance comes into play. She had all the tools and the willpower and the determination and the physical aptitude to transform herself from being just a model, a valet, into a professional wrestler. And that is something that I admire, I respect, and we can never take away from her. But we have to, and I think this is fair criticism. I don't even think this is stupid that I feel like I should be dancing on eggshells here, because I kind of feel I do. But she can have that significance and be important for something that has nothing to do with what she is capable of doing in the ring. She has never been a great worker. She will never be regarded, and anyone who considers that is talking through rose-colored glasses, is tainted with nostalgia, which again is fine. It's okay, but it taints judgment. Trish was a fine pro wrestler, capable, got the basics, and had an incredible crowd connection because of her looks, her charisma, her personality. Lovable human. So easy to relate to. No, but for real. She had all these fantastic qualities. So when we fast forward into 2023, out of the 2000s to 2023, where she hasn't barely wrestled in about 15 years, and I'm expecting her to manage one-on-ones, you can't ask that of me. And I don't think she's been good. I think her in-ring has been fair. I think it's been okay, but it's nothing that's making me clamor for a match with Becky Lynch. So this is how we're starting off the SummerSlam review. But basically, this was an expectation created by the audience that this match is going to happen at SummerSlam. It didn't. It's not happening. I think it's happening on a Monday Night Raw for another reason, and good for them. We're going to have a SummerSlam Battle Royal sponsored by Slim Jim. I am not even kidding. We don't even know how many people are going to be in the Royal Rumble. Let me read the copy from. I haven't done this in a while. There was a longtime listeners, watchers of the MrWarrenHayes show will remember when I used to do the pre-shows for Raw and SmackDown, and we'd read the copy off of the site. SummerSlam Battle Royal presented by Slim Jim. I'm not even kidding. This is a real thing. The biggest event of the summer just got with all capitals, by the way, just got a whole lot wilder with the monumental announcement of a SummerSlam Battle Royal presented by Slim Jim. Superstars will battle tooth and nail for glory in the total free-for-all as they fight off attacks in every direction. A competitor will be eliminated when they are thrown over the top rope, and both feet, there's a beautiful typo there, both feet hit the ringside floor. Who will be the last superstar in the squared circle? Find out on SummerSlam. So, as it confirmed right now from my understanding, from what I was able to gather, LA Knight, Sheamus, Tommaso Ciampa, Shinsuke Nakamura, Otis, and Chad Gable have been announced for this. And there are no stakes. No stakes at all announced for this. Just a battle royal and just go at it, boys. You know, I am assuming whoever wins will get, at the very least, a palette of Slim Jim. At least that's what I would request that. But this is what we have here. Look, this feels like a pre-show match. Feels like a perfect filler match to get people on the card and to give LA Knight a win without, feeling like he's, without booking feeling like they're pushing him too hard. Oh, we're just going to give him a win on this meaningless sponsored battle royal. Someone has to slap into a Slim Jim, right? Someone has to do it. Someone has to do this. Otherwise, what are we doing? What is the point of this sponsorship if you don't have someone go, right? Someone has to snap into a Slim Jim. Anyway, I think LA Knight should get the nod here. But then again, who cares? Ronda Rousey will be taking on Shayna Baszler in an MMA rules match. Do we have more copy to read here? Because these are fun. This is taking me back. Yeah, we do have copy. Let's read it. Let's read this. Former friends, allies, and WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler will face off in what is sure to be a personal, hard-hitting matchup with MMA rules. Their friendship stunningly imploded at WWE Money in the Bank when Baszler attacked Rousey by hitting her from behind, allowing Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to capture the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships in the chaotic aftermath. The Queen of Spades followed that up by verbally assaulting her former partner and lamenting the fact that her own path to WWE was much more difficult than Rousey's. She's not wrong. In the following weeks, the two superstars have come to blows on several occasions, and with no hesitation, they agreed to battle at SummerSlam on Saturday, August 5th, blah, 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 blah. So, I want everyone to do a quick exercise in your brains right now, and I want you to list me the top 10 best MMA style fights in pro wrestling history. I want you to you can press pause on the video or the audio and, come up with the list. Don't go screwing around on Google. Do this like a pro would do. If MMA rules matches were so fantastic, why aren't we seeing more of them? You know why? Because usually they stink. It's just like when I was talking earlier about submission matches. They usually stink because at least, and the difference with an MMA match is that you never know what this match is supposed to be, and the wrestlers never seem to have figured it out either. They're like, are we working? Are we shooting? Is this what are we doing here? And when look, every company on planet Earth has done this to multiple degrees of success, most of them bad. What did I say? I said maybe 70% of submission matches in the history of pro wrestling are boring, right? I would say 90% of MMA rules matches in the history of pro wrestling are bad. Look, just this year, we had Shingo Takagi and Great Khan try that for a King of Pro Wrestling match over in New Japan, and it was not great. It was not good. Remember a few years ago, we had Jake Hager and was it John Moxley in AEW? I'm suddenly drawing a blank. And they had an MMA rules fight, right? No, it was with Wardlow. Oh God, that was terrible. It was Jake Hager and Wardlow in a cage, like a, Bellator, MMA, UFC style, and that was terrible. Off the top of my head, there was Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock, right? And there was Impact did one with Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, but everything Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle did together in Impact was magic. So that's not even fair. Those are the two that come off the top of my head. And I'm sure you could probably dig into, a couple of matches, during the Dark Inoki period in New Japan where there's probably a Minoru Suzuki match in there somewhere. Because Suzuki is one of the rare ones who managed to find the balance and who figured it out. But most pro wrestlers haven't. So again, I think we are setting people up to fail here. Not unlike Thea Hale and Tiffany Stratton with their just lack of overall experience to carry a submission match. Ronda and Shayna, who are accomplished MMA fighters, don't get me wrong, but in this scripted environment of MMA fights, in this scripted environment of sports entertainment, what are we trying to do here with what are we trying to do exactly by adding MMA rules on top of this? Work shoot matches like this have never worked, or very seldom. They stink. They drag the crowd down. And frankly, I don't trust Ronda Rousey to have a good match anymore. I don't. Even if she is going to be fighting with Shayna, and they'll probably tune it up a little bit because they're friends and whatnot, and there's rumors that this might be one of Ronda's final matches. Like, I don't care. I think they are setting these ladies up to fail. But these matches, historically, are worse before they are good. Here's the match I'm most looking forward to on this card. Gunther defending the Intercontinental Championship against Drew McIntyre. That sells itself. This is a match you could have slapped on just this week. You don't need no build. I get it. I know what to expect. I know what to do coming in. There's been build, of course, because it's WWE. And they've been doing nonsense in the meantime. But, you could just tell me these two guys are going to go out and I'm like, there you go. I'm watching your show. It's fine. This is the match I'm most looking forward to on the entire card. History has shown us, when it comes to Gunther PLE matches, WWE disregards the structure. This is what makes Gunther matches good. And even Brock matches. Is that they escape the typical house style, the house structure. That's what they usually do. So I'm excited for this. This makes me happy because we get to see something else here. So I'm cool with it. It has the potential to just tear the house down. I'm really excited for that match. Ricochet's taking on Logan Paul. Logan Paul, back again. Ricochet, is this the pinnacle of Ricochet's career right now? Are we living it? Is this against top WWE superstar Logan Paul? Hey, you think I'm trying to be funny here? You think I'm doing a bit? You think this guy's not a top guy in this company? You think I'm pulling your leg? Logan Paul is a monster superstar for this company. He is not a guy. He is a guy. He is not just one of the guys. He is a guy. They treat him like he's a big deal. They give him the entrances. They give him the importance. They publicize him. He is a guy. Is he the guy? I'm pretty sure that's been discussed. I think you'd be a little infantile, naive to believe that discussions haven't been thrown around about Logan Paul wearing the big strap, the undisputed title thing. But the question I'm legitimately asking is, will it get better than this for Ricochet? Because he's losing this match. That's my official prediction. Because they want to heat up Logan Paul. Logan Paul has been on a losing streak since his match with Roman, if I'm not mistaken. Look, just to make sure I'm not saying complete nonsense, let me pull up his data. This is a guy, he's had 6 matches. Loses his match, his championship match at the Crown Jewel thing against Roman. Gets eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Loses to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania and loses at Money in the Bank. This is a guy they want to heat up. They know how to create heels. So I think he's going to do crazy shit with Ricochet. And Ricochet's going to go along with it, and Ricochet's going to try and contain him as much as possible. But, I wouldn't even be surprised. I would not be surprised in the slightest if Ricochet does tribute spots to his matches with him and Will Ospreay. I would not be surprised in the slightest. And Logan Paul is going to want to do some crazy shit. And we're all going to cross our fingers that nobody gets hurt. But honestly, to come back to my original question, I don't think it gets better for Ricochet. I think this is the biggest match of his career. This is going to be the biggest spotlight he's ever had in WWE. He's going to be fighting the one of their top stars at the top of their powers, and his job is going to be to put Logan Paul over. But the Ricochet push is coming, or so I've been told. What else we got? We have Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and Bianca in a triple threat for the women's championship. And of course it's a triple threat. So you can't just give us can't just build a contender here. You can't just give us the one-on-one. We got to, why are we doing I'm trying to contain myself. Bianca, Asuka are great. Charlotte is touch and go. It depends. She can have a match of the year with Rhea Ripley. She can have a match of the year with Rhea Ripley on at WrestleMania, or she can, blow moonsaults right and left. So this is entirely up to her. The fact that this is a triple threat just personally diminishes the interest exponentially. It's a championship match. Build a contender and make it happen. That's all. And is this some kind of obscure way to get the belt off of Asuka, get it back onto Charlotte while protecting Asuka? Or is Asuka, is she going to pin Bianca again because they're protecting Charlotte? Don't forget, Charlotte she's the golden girl. She gets the protection here. So is she going in and, is Bianca taking the pin here? Bianca's cooled down significantly, right? And, there's been some teases that she might be turning heel, but look, I know Charlotte is supposed to be a babyface. I know she's supposed to be, but it doesn't work. And Asuka's a heel right now. This turn into Charlotte versus Bianca? Is that what we're going for? The match, honestly, the match should be good. And that's the floor, and it has the potential to grow from there. I find the women in WWE have this tendency to really excel at their triple threat matches, at their multi-person matches. They have a tendency to be really, really good at them, unless it's Money in the Bank and ladders are involved. Then it just becomes a schmoz. But when they focus on a match, and there's 3 of them, I feel like they usually come out with something good. So that's the floor that I have for this match. I am absolutely open to being surprised and excited. Because there's no reason this should not be exciting. We have Seth freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship. Don't call it the consolation prize against Finn Balor. Now, I'm going to be super clear with you here. I don't know what's going on with Seth and the Judgment Day, other than, and I don't know why we're having like the 6th Finn Balor Seth Rollins match. I don't know why I'm saying 6th. 3 times, since how many times have they fought each other now at this point since WrestleMania? It's a bit absurd, right? I don't know why we're doing this again, other than creating an opportunity for Damian Priest to cash in. I think this is the thing, right? Other than creating an opportunity for Damian Priest to cash in, run in, and then either cash in successfully or fuck Finn's shit up again, or cash in on Finn. Finn wins the title, then Damian Priest cashes in on Finn, and then the Judgment Day explodes. Right? I don't know what to tell you here. But Seth and Finn have been having the same match over and over again. I've seen them twice, I believe, on PLE recently, and all right. They don't tear the house down. And they should, because these guys are too talented. They don't do anything inspiring. It never hits another gear. It's just like they're going through motions. They're doing the house style and they seem content with it, but you end up with a championship match where it's just like, okay. All right, guys, let's go. Good job. High fives all around and hit the pay window. Well, they don't have a pay window in WWE, I'd assume, but you know what I mean. And look, there's no point, I believe, in spending too much time on thinking how good this match is going to be. What kind of match they're going to put together, because I feel this is all going to schmoz together into this is all going to be overshadowed by Judgment Day nonsense, which is starting to turn into Bloodline Light at this point in regards to overarching stories and lots of moving parts and nonsense and all that, all the stuff that really, really, really doesn't speak to me. I think it's going to be very heavy-handed on that front. So, look, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? Cody Rhodes is going to take on Brock Lesnar. This I don't mind. I think there was something interesting about both of their previous matches. I think the one in Puerto Rico is the one I liked the least. That's the one where Cody snuck out a win, right? I was like, no, why just have the boy win? It doesn't matter. So this is the rubber match. I know they've been trading barbs and so on and so forth. And Brock was on Raw to humble Cody or whatever, But like I said, Brock matches always feel like they're breaking out of the house style. So they always feel different. They always feel fresh. They always feel good. So I'm excited for this match. This is another match I'm looking forward to. I don't want to say excited because I'm really excited for Gunther versus McIntyre. But Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar, I think it's fine. And this is probably Cody's going to win, and it's going to send him right back down the path, of finishing the story. Even though it's a meme now and Cody doesn't like it, he hates that it's become a meme, but nonetheless, it is a meme. It's a fun meme. I think it's a funny meme. I think Cody wins here. And I guess this is going to be the main event, right? Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in tribal combat, which is a fancy word for no disqualifications for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I have no opinion on whether or not Jey Uso should win or not, because I know it is a big part of the discourse. Jey deserves it. Jey doesn't. Jey is a main event talent. Jey is not. Because again, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the story. So if it makes sense in the story, it's going to happen. Now, I said I don't have any thoughts, any strong opinions on whether or not he should or should not win. But I feel, look, the boldest thing, which probably means that they won't do it, but the boldest thing WWE could do is indeed to have Jey Uso win the match and become undisputed champion, universal champion, whatever they call it. And that would be the nail, the final nail in the discussion around whether Cody Rhodes should have won at WrestleMania or not. That should end it right there. Because then to me, it will only be an indication that Roman did not want to drop the title to Cody, wanted to drop it to someone of the family, and that this whole thing about finishing the story and all this bullshit becomes insignificant and secondary and nothing. Now, I don't think Jey Uso is going to win. I think it's a weird decision to have Roman Reigns. I think it would be a weird decision to have Roman Reigns drop the title. Anything they could do to spice things up would be fine for me. I still think Sami should have won the title, and you can do the same thing. You can have Jay win the title at SummerSlam and drop it back to Roman on Friday. It doesn't matter. But the 1,000-day reign, it doesn't matter. You still keep Roman as your champion, and he's the babyface of the company, and he pummeled his cousin twice, and oos, acknowledge me, oos. You can still do all that bullshit that everyone loves. You can do it all, oos. Just have him, just have him drop the belt. Because you don't have to commit to Jey Uso for another 700 days. You don't have to. You can have him win it and then drop it again. And don't you like heat? WWE, isn't the heat great? And isn't that all I ever hear? It's such great heat. It's such great heat. Oh, it would be such great heat for Roman to win it like 5 days later. That's what I think they should have done with Sami. I really think they should have done that with Sami. And Cody should have won at WrestleMania. Because ultimately, everything you're doing, when you take a minute to think, just to think about it, put this in your brain. What are they doing that is so special with the Bloodline story that the titles are so important? Tell me the disintegration of the Bloodline story that they've been telling since WrestleMania absolutely needs the titles. Hey, DGMC's back. Nice to see you. 38 months as a member. Good to see you, pal. I'm glad you're back. But does that make sense? There's nothing in that story that requires the title. They could have dropped the title to Cody, continue the Bloodline nonsense, and then have Cody go on a title reign, starting off with Brock Lesnar. I know Cody has to pay his dues, apparently. He's got to carry some bags. He's got to open some doors. He's got a young lion in this bullshit. Got to pay his dues first. Got to make the towns. Got to make sure he makes the towns. Got to make sure he's reliable. Is he a good hand? But ultimately, my point is this. Do something bold. Put it on Jay. I just want something bold to happen in this fucking company. I want them to show that they still have the capacity to shake things up, to just be unexpected. Anything can happen in WWE is what I've been told for decades. So, put your fucking money where your fucking mouth is. I fully expect, look, you know what's going to happen. Jimmy's going to show up and Solo's going to show up. And then it's going to, and they're all going to walk on, they're all going to, throw garbage pails at each other. They're going to do a Weapons Wild match. That's what's going to happen. Then you hit the bricks. Hit the bricks with that. Don't do that. Have Jay win. And you have the perfect out to have Jay win without Roman Reigns looking like a schmuck. Because, oh God, you have to protect Roman. You got to protect Roman. Fucking have the ring collapse on him or some bullshit. That's something that might happen too. They'll have some kind of trickery, the ring falling apart. If this match goes on last, they might have this kind of shit happen too, I wouldn't be surprised in the least. In the least. So look, I think logically, Roman Reigns is going to retain, but I would love Jey Uso winning the title. It would be so beautiful. Such a beautiful moment. And I would laugh all the way to the bank. I have my Cody memes ready. So that's happening this week. Of course, I'm going to be reviewing it next week here on the show. But this is the thing with these PLEs, right? And I always say the same thing. There are too many talented people on these shows for them to suck. Like, these shows should not suck. There's no reason for them to. I think this will be a good show. That's my floor. And if they keep building, if they over deliver and they let the matches that are supposed to deliver, that makes sense. This should be a pretty good WWE PLE. Starting off the night with LA Knight winning the Slim Jim Battle Royal. Not in Macho Man's wildest dreams. Not in his wildest dreams. Are you ready for a G1 Climax 33 update? As you may or may not know, hopefully you do know, I've been doing daily coverage of of New Japan's big tournament that they do annually. It's going on right now. We are at night 11, so things are starting to wrap up here. We had the today, August 1st. The audio, the video is available right now. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing because you can go watch and listen to that. But on today's show, we had the last combined night of action for blocks A and B. So the next time we see A block and B block action, it will be on separate nights. A block will be on August 5th. B block will be on August 6th. Tomorrow, August 2nd, will be the last night of combined action for blocks C and D. Block C the final night for block C will be on August 8th, and the final night for block D will be on August 9. Then we have the playoffs on August 10 and 12 with the finals on August 13. That's all that's left. We're truly in the home stretch right now. And there has been, look, I have enjoyed this G1 quite a bit. And it really does feel like we're rising out of the pandemic in Japan and with New Japan, and things feel good. And the matches were the nights were overall entertaining. There's a couple of stinkers per usual, but this is where we're at right now. We've done leaps and bounds since we last spoke last week. Again, I'm not going to go into match per match details, but I'm going to give you like a bit of an overview of what's going on right now. Starting off with Block A, where Sonata currently is leading the block for 12 points. He was the first wrestler of the entire tournament to qualify for the playoffs. As you may recall, the top two leaders of every block are going to be split then into a single elimination tournament, the playoffs as we like to call them, to determine the winner. So as opposed to many previous years, it's not just the top winner of the block who advances, it is the winner and the runner-up. Right now, the runner-up spot is open to anyone who can take it. Kaito Kiyomiya, Shota Umino, and Hikuleo all have 6 points. Gabriel Kidd, Yota Tsuji both have 5 points. Chase Owens and Ren Narita, who are also in this block, they have been officially mathematically eliminated from the tournament. But everyone else is still in this. They're all fighting for the runner-up position because no one is going to be able to catch up to Sonata. Sonata has 12 points. At the very least, he can lose on the last night, or he's going to finish with a sweep at 14 points. It doesn't matter. Everyone else here has a chance. Now, what I think what it's going to boil down to see who gets the final 2 points here, is Shota Umino and Hikuleo, who are going to be facing each other on August 5th. They're both at 6 points. Whoever wins this gets 8 points. It's just as simple as that. If Kaito Kiyomiya wins his match, he's also at 6 points. He's the other 6 point guy. If he gets 8 points, because he has another match, I can't remember against whom. I believe it's against Chase Owens, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. If he wins his match, he'll be at 8 points as well. But Hikuleo holds the tiebreaker over him. So if Hikuleo wins his match and Kaito Kiyomiya wins his match, Hikuleo moves forward. If Shota Umino wins the match against Hikuleo and Kaito Kiyomiya wins his match as well, they're both at 8 points and they had a draw. So I don't even know what specifically is going to happen in this situation. But there also could be some draws. There have been multiple draw scenarios, matches who ended in draws, I should say, in Block A, especially amongst the Musketeers and Kiyomiya as well. Most people in the block have had a draw. Because, there's a bunch of reasons, because the young guys are all hungry and they're pushing each other, and the 20-minute time limit as opposed to 30 minutes. There's a lot of explanations. There's a lot of kayfabe explanations for it. So this is where we're at right now. And it's fascinating to me that for the first time in a long time, we could be also considering draw scenarios where people might get an extra point instead of 2. Which is fascinating. Because Gabriel Kidd, Yota Tsuji, they're at 5 points. What if they draw? And I think they're fighting each other on the last night. What if they draw? They're up to 7 points. What if Shota and Hikuleo draw? They're up both at 7 points as well. Then Kaito Kiyomiya wins his match. He's at 8. He moves forward. There's really a bunch of really interesting scenarios. Like Block A, and I called it from the start. Block A was going to be the most interesting block of all 4. And right down to the nitty gritty. There are many possibilities here that are still open. I'm excited to see this, to see how it goes. The main story, I think, coming out of this, or the main talking point, I should say, is Ren Narita's disappointing G1. Disappointing in points and disappointing in performance. As far as he being one of the new 3 Musketeers, along with Shota Umino and Yota Tsuji, he's clearly the one who is behind the other 2. Doesn't have... He's dry. He doesn't have the crowd connection. His matches don't hit other gears. Tsuji and Umino are on another level at this point. Right down to the point that, in my recaps, I've started calling them the 2 Musketeers, or the Reiwa 2, as opposed to 3. Because Narita, I thought... When I started my predictions here, and I said it's like, if there's one guy who needs a good G1, good results, and strong performances, it's Ren Narita, because he is the guy who feels the least ready out of the 3 that they chose. Tsuji is a beast. Shota Umino he's picked something up. There's something that clicked, and this tournament for him has been outstanding. He's been an MVP this entire way through. Narita, it ain't been the case. So exciting stuff. Moving on to from Block A, Sanada is moving forward, and the runner-up is very much open still. I still think Shota Umino and Hikuleo will be the deciding match, but if they go to a draw, there's a chance for Kaito Kiyomiya to win. It's wild. Kazuchika Okada in Block B is at the top with 10 points. Then we have Will Ospreay and El Phantasmo as the only 2 other guys who have not been eliminated. Mathematically, Taichi, Tangaloa, Yoshihashi, Kenta, and Great-O-Khan were all eliminated today because of the results that happened, with El Phantasmo beating Taichi and Will Ospreay as well losing his match. It keeps things very, very, very interesting. So Okada right now is up at top at 10 points. Will Ospreay is at 8, and he has to contend with El Phantasmo at 6. So, because this is the scenario that exists here. Okada's moving forward. It's just a question of, is he moving forward? On what side of the bracket is he going? Is he going on the winner side, or is he going on the runner-up side? That's all we have to figure out when it comes to Okada. Ospreay and Phantasmo are fighting on August 6th. If Phantasmo wins, he gets his 2 points. He ties with Ospreay, but he has the tiebreaker, so he wins. He becomes the runner-up and moves forward. Will Ospreay, if he beats Phantasmo, he gets 10 points. He wins the block, so he moves on to the winner's side because he has the tiebreaker over Kazuchika Okada, and they will both be at 10 points. So this one is pretty straightforward when it comes to Block B. There's one match on the entire card, on the entirety of night 6. There is August 6th, excuse me. There is one match that is significant. It is Will Ospreay versus El Phantasmo. That's the one. Otherwise, anything else, all the other matches are just filler. You can't even spoil the tournament for Okada. Like Okada might, like I said, all that's left to determine is whether he's going to be in the winner's block, if he's going to be on the winner's side or the runner-up side. That's all. If he wins his match, then he'll finish with 12 points, and yeah, he'll be on the winner's side regardless. If he doesn't, if he finishes at 10, well, it depends on Ospreay Phantasmo. Like, it'll be good. So here's the thing. Here's what I want y'all to keep in mind. Will Ospreay, there's still rumors that he'll be done with New Japan at the end of the year, that he's moving on to greener pastures. He got his win over Kazuchika Okada, the win that he couldn't do. He got it during this G1. So they're not going to repeat that. It's not something they're saving for Wrestle Kingdom. He's been putting guys over. Like he's leaving the territory. I'm telling you, look, if Will Ospreay loses to El Phantasmo tomorrow, there's a very good chance. I think that's an extra little sign that Will Ospreay might be on his way out of New Japan. Not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. There you go. So we still have a lot of things are not as clear yet in Block C and D. Like I said, they're going to have their other night of action tomorrow, August 2nd. Dave Finlay and Evil currently lead Block C, at 8 points. Tama Tonga's there at 7. Eddie Kingston's at 6. Shingo Takagi's at 5. Mikey Nichols, Hinari, and Tomohiro Ishii have all been eliminated. When it comes to Block D, we've got Jeff Cobb and Zack Sabre Jr. up at 8. Tetsuya Naito, Hiroshi Tanahashi at 6 points apiece. And Hiroki Goto and Shane Hayes with 4 points apiece. Toru Yano and Alex Coughlin have both been eliminated. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do moving forward here with these two blocks. Because there's still a lot of possible scenarios, and I don't want to necessarily run them down here. Outside of Block D, where I still think it's a Tetsuya Naito win, he's qualifying at the very least. Doing the comeback on, heading back down the comeback trail. He's got his final match is against Hiroshi Tanahashi, longtime rival. Hiroshi Tanahashi, that's the last match for Block D on August 9. I think that's significant. They're probably going to be tied to the end with Naito getting the big win and moving forward. I think, you want some safe money. I think Zack Sabre Jr. and Tetsuya Naito as the winners of Block D is pretty safe. Block C still a lot of things to contest. We're not done yet. There's even scenarios where Shingo can come back. I'm not going to break them all down, but it's still very exciting right now. As for my top matches of the tournament so far, there's been some adjustments. My top 5 matches since we spoke last week, there have been some changes. Kazuchika Okada versus Taichi from July 21st is still my match of the tournament. That was outstanding. But then, I still keep at number 2, Shingo Takagi versus Hinare. I thought that was an incredible fight. Taichi versus Will Ospreay from July 15 was also a brilliant piece of work. But this is where things change. I've bumped up Eddie Kingston versus Tomohiro Ishii. In fourth, that was just a beautiful brawl. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I've added from today, August 1st, Shota Umino versus Yota Tsuji. That went near time in a brilliant display that only consecrated deeper in my brain that there are truly only two Reiwa Musketeers. These guys put on a hell of a show. A brilliant fight. And we're seeing history in the meantime. We're seeing these guys are the future. These guys are going to just get more and more established as we keep moving forward. Over the next 3 years, 5 years. They're already so good, and they're only going to improve. This match that they had together today, Tsuji and Umino, was brilliant. A brilliant match. Perfectly put together, wonderfully paced. They're hitting moves. It's physical. It's exciting, dramatic to the very end. And as much as I enjoyed this, I'm watching this and I'm done, and I go and I put my hands on my head and these kids are kids. They're in their 20s. They are only going to get better. We are in brilliant times right now. Why are we content watching Baron Corbin versus Gable Steveson when you have these guys who are already fantastic and are only going to improve? And it's insane to think that these guys are going to get better. There you go. So that's my G1 Climax update. Jump into my daily coverage. You can already jump in right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a playlist already set up that you can hop into and just drop right in and catch up. If you need any kind of catching up, the episodes are also available on your favorite podcast application as well. So there's no reason to not be up to speed. I'm going to be back tomorrow to do the August 2nd. Hey, you know what? I was a little afraid, right? That I wasn't going to be able to do the daily stuff, but I have. And I liked it. I liked it more than doing the 2 nights combined. Fantastic stuff. Pat myself on the back here. Pat myself on the back. So there we have it. That's what we did. That's what we. I think we're about done. Gonna say hello to King of the North, our boy Evan, who just popped in, as I'm about to hit the button for the end of the weekly wrestling inspection. And this is how we're going to wrap up today's edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you all very much for allowing me to regale you with tales of pro wrestling and thoughts and so on and so forth for, whatever time this took. I don't look at the clock. I'm like Kay. I'm like cooking with Kay. I don't watch the time. I just let things go. But thank you very much for being here. If you haven't already, consider leaving a like on the video on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or subscribe if you want to. That would also be super dope. And, ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, those things help out a great deal. As I mentioned just a few seconds ago, we'll be back tomorrow with the G1, with the daily G1 coverage for night 12, tomorrow being Wednesday. So you might actually be, this might actually be clashing. You might actually be wondering, what should I be listening to first? And if you're listening to this, you're already at the end, so you already made your choice. Otherwise, I will be back on Thursday. That was convoluted for nothing. We'll also be back on Thursday for the Dynamite review, Dynamite 200, and then the Collision stuff on Sunday as well. But listen, wherever you decide to pop in and see me again, I will see you next time.